I'm Andy Hargreaves. I'm Research Professor at Boston College and Visiting Professor at the University of Ottawa. And I want to spend a few minutes with you thinking about leadership. We often treat leadership, conceive of leadership, as something that happens in individuals at the top. Prime ministers, presidents, sports stars, business leaders. Sometimes we love these leaders, sometimes we hate them, but this is how we generally tend to think of them. And the same is true in education. We think of the principal or the director or a head of a school system, for instance. And not all leadership at the top is bad or wrong. In education, there are areas where it's worked quite well sometimes. So, for instance, in some places, not all, when we focused on raising achievement results in literacy or narrowing achievement gaps in literacy and math, in some places where we've backed that up with a lot of support and a lot of resources, tight focus, strong attention, we've been able to make some progress in relation to equity in particular. But leadership from the top doesn't work nearly so well with goals that are more complex. And our goals in education now are getting really complex. We've got global competencies, how to communicate, how to collaborate, how to solve problems. We've also learned again the importance of relationships and emotional and social development during COVID-19. This is a big lesson that it taught us. And these things are much harder to implement in detail from the top. And then to that, you can add inclusion. So since the 1980s, all over the world, we've increasingly focused on including more children with disabilities, with Down syndrome, with autism, with learning disabilities within regular classrooms, for example, and then factor in culture responsive teaching to people from racial minorities, for immigrants, for children who are second language. And so the more inclusive our classrooms become, the more we have to respond to a wide range of kids, not just one standardized strategy, the harder it is to drive everything in a top-down way from the leaders above us. So what can we do instead? Well, we can go bottom up. We can leave it all to the individual teachers, and that's good because it respects the teacher's autonomy. But if teachers don't work together, you'll get some good things happening in some classes and some schools, but not in many classes and many schools. So the answer actually is what I call leadership from the middle, leading from the middle. You know, the closer we get, the better we lead. The closer we get to the practice, the more we know about the practice, the better we can lead the practice. The closer we get to each other in our relationships and our knowledge, the more effectively we can work together. My colleague Dennis Shirley and I spent years working with 10 school districts, and then with Dennis and with a range of other people, I've been building about 8 or 9 different networks over the years in different parts of the world: Canada, the US, Australia, the UK, and elsewhere. And this has really taught us about the importance of leading from the middle. We found with inclusion, for example, that the biggest predictor of successful inclusion is not, as you would expect, how well teachers collaborate within their school, although that's a very good predictor. But an even better predictor is how well principals collaborate with each other across their schools. Because inclusion is so complicated, the answers are sometimes so unclear. What you need is access to other people's experience and insights. So this is leadership from the middle. If you're in a school, the middle are your lead teachers. If you're in a district or a network, the middle are your schools. If you're in a state or a nation, the middle is how your districts or regions work together. But leading from the middle isn't leading in the middle. Leading in the middle, you know, it's like middle child, middle school, middle ages, middle age spread. It's a pretty negative thing. It's just about how you connect up other people, join the dots, how you're an intermediary. You know, you put on your dating app that you work in middle management, and I'll guarantee that very few people will swipe right, because middle management is about being between other people. You don't really have an identity of your own. But leadership from the middle, and my book on leadership from the middle, is really about how the people in the middle are not just a level or a tier or a linkage, but they're the spine, the heart, the guts, the soul of the school that holds it together and drives it forward. Leadership from the middle is about being in charge of change. It's about leading people beside you. It's about leading up and leading the people above you. It's about leading things that matter. It's about taking initiative, not just implementing other people's initiatives. We've seen these in networks. We've seen these in collaboratives. You have to specifically design them so that there is a clear philosophy and vision. There's a structure of teams and roles and responsibilities that makes this possible. And then there's a culture of collaboration and of working together and of finding shared solutions. That means everybody is moving in the same direction, bringing their diverse experiences into the same effort to make positive change. So leadership from the top has a place. Leadership from the bottom is always welcome wherever it happens. But leadership from the middle is what drives us forward, because remember, the closer we get, the better we lead.